The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford in New York, and welcome to our day on ABC Sports. In a moment, we'll begin with the Professional Bowlers Tour, followed at 4:30 Eastern by ABC's Wide World of Sports. Well, the 1990 inductees to the Pro Football Hall of Fame were announced this afternoon, and our colleague and friend Bob Greasy was among the 7 selected. Bob will be joined in the Hall of Fame by Tom Landry, my former coach with the New York Giants, a pair of Steeler greats Franco Harris and Jack Lambert, Kansas City's Big Buck Buchanan, Ted the Stork Hendricks, and San Francisco's Bob St. Clair, and of course, our congratulations to each and every one of them. Well, in case you missed it, Steffi Graf has defeated Mary Jo Fernandez to win her 3rd consecutive Australian Open title. Yvonne Lindo will meet Stefan Edberg for the men's title. Now let's begin our day with the Professional Bowlers Tour.
ABC Sports presents live in its 29th year the Professional Bowlers Tour. Today, from Pinole Valley Lanes in Pinole, California, it's the $125,000 ARC Pinole Open. In our first match, the 1988 PBA Player of the Year from Boca Raton, Florida, Brian Voss will meet the 1989 Player of the Year, Amleto Monacelli of Venezuela. That winner will face 3rd-seeded Don Genalo, a 6-time winner from Perrysburg, Ohio. In the semifinal game, the winner of the United States Open and the Firestone, Steve Cook of nearby Roseville, will be gunning for his 15th PBA title. And in the title match, our tournament leader looking for his first PBA title, he's Chris Warren of Dallas, Texas. That's our field of 5 for today's telecast on the Professional Bowlers Tour. We've returned to the strikingly beautiful area of San Francisco, where the 49ers are the people's choice tomorrow. Today, we are now north of San Francisco in Pinole, California, right here at the Pinole Valley Bowling Lanes. I'm Chris Schenkel. Welcome to our telecast. Our professional bowling telecast will be followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports. A year ago, the PBA Tour started right here in Pinole. Most unusual happening, near the end of the semifinal game, the lights went out. We had a power outage. 15 minutes later, the lights came on, and Ernie Schlegel went on to win the Pinole Open. Well, right now, the lights are on inside, so let's join my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr.
Thank you, Chris. There's a record crowd here at Pinole Lanes, capacity overflow crowd, and they've been very excited all week long with some great scoring. And last year, when the lights went out, it didn't hurt the players. It was the highest scoring championship round we had of the year. The 5 players averaged better than 230. The tournament winner averaged better than 240 for the whole day. So we expect to see more of that today. And in our finals field, we have some great players. Steve Cook, the big guy, the left-hander, is in 2nd place. But in the first match could be the best of the year. We have the 1988 Player of the Year and the 1989 Player of the Year, Monacelli and Brian Voss. Now, we said there's good scoring, so let's see how the PBA set up the lane surface for today's action. First place, the oil is about 45 feet down the lane, even gutter to gutter. That's very dry on the back end. The ball breaks very sharply, and the light pins, 3-pound, 6-ounce pins, make the scoring very good. The right-handers are taking a trajectory all the way out to the edge into the 1-3. Big Steve Cook's doing the same thing, the big hook in the left pocket. And, Chris, there's a lot of money available, and let's see if we can get some big scores.
We have a total of $125,000, 20 to the winner, 10, 5, 7, 55, and 45. So we go to our very first match from Venezuela, Amleto Monacelli, 2nd consecutive appearance on our live telecasts last week in Las Vegas, and he's meeting Brian Voss. Here is Monacelli, the cranker, very deliberate player, 35th television appearance. So it's an 8-pin right off, Nelson. First shot of the telecast.
Well, we said there's good scoring, Chris, and mainly they can hit the pocket the same as they do the other days or other tournaments, but the pins fall a little bit easier. These are 3-pound, 6-ounce pins, a couple ounces lighter we've been using, and you saw Monacelli get a break kicking out that 8-pin for an easy spare with just the 2 standing.
Well, the 2-pin is gone, and it's a spare from Monacelli. So now an opportunity to be introduced again to the cover boy, Brian Voss. Won the PBA National Championship in 1988, helping him to become Player of the Year. There's a phone call for no one, and disrupting it was. Right lane, first shot, Voss. Sharp break at the end, but leaving the 10 pin.
Talked to all the players out there, the right-handers all said that the lane 30 doesn't hook quite as much as lane 29. As you see, Voss is just classic style. Shoulder high swing. Watch this deep knee bend with that right leg as he drives through that pivot step. Good extension and follow through. That's why he was Player of the Year and still one of the best on the tour.
Eight years of professional, 8 PBA titles, 33rd television appearance, first of this year. He had a match play record of 16-8, whereas Monacelli 14-10. Standing room only here at the ARC Pinole Valley Lanes, one of 29 centers that American recreation centers operate in California and Texas. Ooh. He's wearing his 49er shirt. That's the team that he picks tomorrow. I asked Amleto about his choice, and he said, Chris, I really don't know. If it were a soccer match, I could tell you.
Monacelli being an international soccer player for Italy a few years back before he joined the Professional Bowlers Tour.
High hit, leaving the 3-6-10.
Amleto will have more trouble than, I think, Voss, because you watch his style. He has a good high backswing, and he plays the big hook, but the lanes are pretty dry at the back end. As you see his open hand, tucks it into that left leg, and you see him rolling over the third arrow. The shoes of Monacelli, just a superstition. He wears the right, has a red shoe, and he has the white one that's kind of turned black. He needs to get a little polish to that thing.
Very enthusiastic crowd, and that's in most cases true of our telecast from California. Great interest in this sport. And today you have an opportunity to compare your style, weight, shape, and build with our field of 5. Because we have huge Steve Cook coming up, and then the tournament leader, 115-pound Chris Warren. Spare up, third frame.
Brian Voss, as well as Monacelli, are dedicated physical condition people. Brian Voss opts for the weights, does a lot of work in the weight room. Monacelli probably runs 30 or 40 miles a week, so they're in top shape and obviously some of the best bowlers in the world.
And Brian Voss crossing over, leads by 13 pins. Earlier we made the comment that he had a very special event coming up in a few weeks. His answer.
Yeah, in about 3 weeks I'm going to be getting married. I'm going to be bowling that week also, so it's going to be a long week. All the relatives are going to be there, and it's just something I've kind of looked forward to all my life, and I finally met the girl that I've been waiting for, and I'm going to do it.
Okay, and we congratulate Andrea Goff, at whom you're looking, and Brian Voss. So he strings 3. Andrea's happy. We'll be back with more of our first match following this.
It began as a game. It turned into a battle.
You'll receive 6 bi-monthly issues for only $99.95.
We're back again at the Pinole Valley Lanes in the San Francisco Bay Area. We've started our first match of 4 to decide the champion. Monacelli with a strike-up shooting in the 4th can cut Voss's lead to 13. the 25-second rule affects his game.
It did affect a little bit. I had to take less time before I bowl. I usually use the rosin bag. I just don't use it as much, and then I'm ready to go.
For the league bowlers, the PBA has initiated a rule where a player has 25 seconds in which to release the ball from the time it comes back. And the Amleto is very close to that every time. There's a penalty if you don't do it.
And he's cut Voss's lead to 3. And as we look at Teresa, Amleto's bride, what is the penalty, Bo?
Chris, the first time's a warning by tournament director Harry Golden. Then it starts, I believe, at 100, then 200, 400, 800. Sounds like somebody in Vegas, but if you delay long enough, you end up with no money, that's for sure. And the players really are kind of stuck with the rule. I think it's good for everybody.
3 in a row. 5th frame. And our first 4-pin of the afternoon here in Pinole, California. Let's replay that shot.
Voss on the left side of the approach, going right about the second arrow in the track area, swings wide, then the 2-pin, the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of the screen, goes to sideboard, takes out the 7, but leaves the 4.
Brian won his very first tournament in 1983 in a roll-off against Pete McCordick, 39-29. Then he won in Houston, then in Grand Prairie, where we'll be a week from today, Riverside, and the PBA National.
Interesting point for Brian Voss as he sets his feet. On his strike ball, he's rolling about 19 miles an hour. On his spare ball, he ups it to about 22 and throws it straight.
Ooh, a last-minute break on the 7-pin on the left lane for Brian Voss. Brian, who last year earned $135,000 after setting a record the previous year.
Watch Brian saw this 5-pin. He drives it all the way over behind the 7. The 2-pin comes off the sideboard and takes out the 7. That's where we get the great pin action, the lighter pins, and it's taking effect here. Voss has had a high hit and he struck. He had a light hit. Monacelli's also had a high hit and struck. So he needs to strike here in the 6th to retake the lead.
And convincingly stringing 4 now, and an 8-pin lead for Amleto Monacelli.
Big lift with his wrist. You see his hand come underneath the ball. He likes it when he sees that 10-pin go out, and he has retaken the lead. +8, 7th frame.
What a year last year. 4 firsts, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, 1 fourth, and 2 fifths. Total of 12 top 5s. The record is by Don Carter in 1962. 18 top 5 finishes.
Big hook.
5 in a row for the Venezuelan, who's out to an 18-pin lead. We'll be back.
St. Basil's and Red Square. ABC's Wide World of Sports visits Moscow. Next.
Wide World next with all those talented figure skaters. So is Robert Feuchter, chairman of the board of American Recreation Centers. We've known him a long time. Very effective executive. And there you see the 10 pins and 10th ranked Illinois, 92-81 over rival Ohio State. LSU over Florida, 70-52.
LSU bouncing back after a couple losses. Now Voss trailing by 18. Can cut it to 8 pins with a strike here in the 7th.
All right. When you mentioned LSU, tomorrow they'll be going against the Running Rebels right here on ABC, along with Indiana, Minnesota.
2 fantastic games. And I tell you what, Chris, I watched that Illinois-Missouri game, and I know they got Missouri ranked up there close to #1. I just don't think they're quite that good, even though I'm from Missouri, so I'll probably get a little flack when I get home. So the Illinois-Indiana game should be good tomorrow, and let's see what LSU does against the Rebels. That'll be a big one.
All right, now Brian Voss can take the lead here by 2 if he can strike in the 8th.
Come on! Yeah!
Well, Brian Voss, Andrea Goff, his fiancée, Brian didn't need our RF or wireless microphone because he shouted that.
It's a steady head. Look at those eyes riveted on the target. That's as good as you can throw the ball, and he put the pressure right back on Monacelli. Let's see if it has an effect, that demonstrative action.
Venezuela's Amleto Monacelli. Oh, this is tit for tat, just answering each other with those big strikes here in California.
You're right, Chris. So look at the scoreboard. You have a potential 277 for Monacelli and a potential 269 for Voss. All strikes just as we expected.
Those two games tomorrow, LSU, the Runnin' Rebels, Las Vegas, and Indiana, Minnesota Gophers. Some help today, but we all need good luck, don't we, Nelson, to win?
That's for sure, Chris. Unbelievable. It's so high, trips out to 4-7 and knocks the 10 out and stays right in the match as we look at the defending champion of the Quaker State Open, where we'll be next week in the Dallas area, Grand Prairie, Texas, Del Ballard Jr. Now Voss trails by 18 once again, needs a strike to stay pace.
Another pressure shot. You can accept it because when you're a player of the year, you have to prove your mettle, and he certainly did it in '88, earning $225,000. 8 years a pro, 8 titles. But this one is getting a little shaky now because he's going against a red-hot Monacelli, who was strung 7. That's what I like to see, spirit.
Chris, I don't think I've ever seen Brian Voss, and I know he's the player of the year and set a money record, bowl any better than he has this game, especially in the clutch. These last 3 shots he threw were absolutely perfect. When you see a player's follow through come slightly inside out to the right in a clutch situation, not try to help the ball, you know he's bowling as well as he possibly can, and now he has the lead by 2 pins. No matter what he does, though, he cannot shut out Monacelli.
Remember, the winner of this game will meet Don Genalo, Perrysburg, Ohio, a native of New York's Long Island. That is professionalism.
At its best, Chris. In the clutch, look at how steady he is, how confident he is. You just cannot roll a bowling ball any better than that.
There's Andrea Goff. Deep breath, Andrea. That's right. Concentration.
Get him off! Get him off!
Tough break, so it's a 265 for Brian Voss. 265.
Highest game of the year, and the importance of that count ball makes Monacelli only strike once and get 9 spare to win. The situation for Monacelli is simply this. He must strike on this ball and then get 9 spare or better to win. If he doesn't strike, Voss is the winner.
Part of the deal on that high hit, all right.
All right, he's still in it. If he strikes or gets 9 spare, he wins. If he gets 8 spare, he loses or ties, and we'd have another roll-off. If he gets anything less than 8, Brian Voss wins.
$4,500 to the loser. Winner has a chance to proceed toward the $20,000 first prize.
That's a winner, Chris. He's going to be in the 270s this game.
What a bend on that last shot by Monacelli. ABC Sports presentation of the Professional Bowlers Tour. We'll be back after this message and a word from our local stations.
The Pro Bowlers Tour, brought to you by AC Delco. Automotive parts that don't just fit, they match. By True Value Hardware. For quality, selection, and personal attention, make True Value Hardware your store first choice. And by Firestone. Watch us. We're on the move.
Look at that. 10 strikes for Monacelli, 9 strikes for Brian Voss. It's a tough one to lose, a good one to win. 277 to 265. And here is Brian. What a way to start the day.
Oh, gosh. You know, that's a tough one to lose. I'll probably remember that the rest of my life. But, hey, we both bowled a great game, and, you know, that's all you can do.
Well, I think you're going to be back a lot of times, Brian, and I didn't expect the scoring to be that high, and I'm sure the other matches will be just the same as Don Genalo comes up against Amleto Monacelli.
By the way, congratulations on your engagement.
Thanks.
All right. That was the first game. Live coverage from Pinole Valley Lanes in Pinole, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now Don Genalo, terrific match player, is Monacelli's next opponent. He had the best match play record in the 24 match play games, 18-6. Good TV record, too. 6 times a champion.
Come on.
So smooth. Native Long Islander.
I just like Don Genalo's style. He has more of a conventional style. He doesn't play the big power ball, but he's so disciplined at the foul line. He holds that follow through, and he goes with that excellent form, and I think that's one of the reasons he's so good in the clutch. He maintains his form under pressure. Now let's see what that last game took out of Monacelli, or see if he can stay red hot.
11 strikes and 13 frames for Monacelli. Our Budweiser point standing. The winner gets 125, and then so on down through with 10 bonus points for the tournament leader. After 2 telecasts, 2 championships, David Houston is in the lead over Marshall Holman, Ron Williams, Mark Thayer, Parker Bone III. That's a continuing point standing by Budweiser. We'll keep informed each week. 12 of 14.
Monacelli, undoubtedly the most improved player that I've ever seen come out on the tour. When I saw him come out a few years back, I thought he was wasting his money. Now he's taking everybody's money. It just shows what dedication, practice, and talent will do.
Now Don looking for a double.
Sit down.
Oh.
The 4-9 split.
Yes.
And this is a split that is fairly easy to make if you get the ball in the proper position. And we can see from our specialty demonstration that you get the ball over here, slide the 4-pin into the 9.
Here's his attempt. Don Genalo, because of that open frame, is now trailing by 22 against Amleto Monacelli. It's our second match if you just joined us, and it was Monacelli who defeated Brian Voss in our first game, 277 to 265. Winner of this game will meet Steve Cook. Big crowd.
Donald.
He too is mic'd. So it's a 4-7-10, or make it a 6-7-10.
Well, Chris, you got to get the ball over to the right of the 6-pin and get the ball right in this area and slide the 6 over into the 7. It'll take out the spare.
So it's consecutive open frames for Don Genalo. That's bad at any time, but especially when you're bowling Amleto Monacelli today.
Amleto said he learned to watch pro bowling by satellite in Venezuela. He has 15 300 games bowled in Venezuela. None of them are sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.
Came to Chicago as a 16-year-old to compete in the Brunswick World Open, then won his first title in the Japan Cup. Second 6 times before he won.
And Chris, his ability to throw strikes, even when he was a rookie out here, was never questioned. It was always his spare bowling. And he's improved that quite a bit as he cuts the hook down on his spares. But right now he doesn't have to worry about it because he's striking almost every single ball.
Now he has 4 in a row in this game. Who knows how far Amleto Monacelli will go?
The Quaker State Open on ABC's Pro Bowlers Tour next Saturday.
Senator Shirley.
That's right. Next week it'll be the Quaker State Open at Jeannie Halsey's Forum in Grand Prairie, Texas. We look forward to it. While we were away, as we're running a little behind our allotted time slot in the 4th frame, Don Genalo left the 2-5 marked with a spare and now is going for the lone 2-pin. 5th frame. All right. But he's going against a man who has made 14 strikes in a row. Now in his second game, 4 up here, shooting in the 5th. Bagger in our second match of the ARC Pinole Open.
Well, Chris, 15 in a row, that's great anytime. And, of course, he has 7 more to go. He'd be in really better shape.
Mm-hmm. And 1 more and we'll really get excited.
You got it.
Halfway point coming up.
Teresa, Monacelli looking on.
Exhaling. The halfway point of the second game, the smile of Teresa. Remember, $100,000 if he can bowl 6 more plus from AC Delco, a 1990 Chevrolet Corvette.
Monacelli looked good driving that in Barquisimeto, his hometown in Venezuela.
So Don Genalo, who had back-to-back open frames in the 2nd and 3rd, gets his 2nd strike at this match. Don Genalo. Ann Genalo, her 2nd birthday today, and we congratulate Ann and her mom, Mary. This week is a big one for little Ann.
Telling Daddy to throw more strikes, but what can you do when he's trailing by 74 pins? You almost feel like a pacer the way Monacelli's playing.
Solid 10 on the left lane for Don Genalo with 6 titles.
Genalo with, I would say, the biggest feet on the PBA Tour, wears a size 13D shoe, and I think that's one of the reasons he's so solid at the foul line. He's a very disciplined player, and unfortunately, he's just getting whitewashed this game, as you see those big feet.
Good understanding, huh?
Yes.
Beautiful marking with a spare in the 7th frame. Amleto Monacelli, 6 in a row, leads by 74 pins.
Time ever in the land of St. Basil's and Red Square. ABC's Wide World of Sports visits Moscow. Next.
Figure skating's brightest stars from Moscow today. Wide World following. Everybody's following Amleto Monacelli with 6 strikes in a row here in his 2nd match. He won the first, 277 to 265, shot by Brian Voss. 7th frame, Monacelli. out, it looked as though a Corvette was going to go to Barranquilla, Venezuela.
Here's the shot of Monacelli from the inside line. He swings it over the second arrow, almost out to the first board. 6 doesn't quite do the job on the 10.
Okay, well, that's fair in the 7th frame. A 73-pin lead. Monacelli. The winner will meet. He's fearsome to look at because of his size and his talent. Steve Cook, a Californian, and then Chris Warren of Dallas, our tournament leader. Half of that ball is just beautiful, Bo.
You're right, Chris. The big hook, he's got it working, and he's also working over Don Genalo, who is trailing by 73. But his next opponent, Steve Cook, throws the big, powerful strike ball from the left side. It should be a great match.
Don with a little chuckle at the line, crossing over, and he's...
Well, Genalo cannot be happy with this performance, and he's the only player that actually kind of throws the ball straight down in a conventional way, and the lanes would just not take that kind of shot right now. If he starts it up, it runs high. If he sends it wide, it doesn't finish like Monacelli, so he'll have to wait to another day.
And this was an opportunity he relished because he has not won since 1986, which was his best year. But he has 6 PBA titles.
Got his start in bowling really through the college. He was a college unions champion in 1977, and through the college programs, you do pick up a lot of experience, and he was ready to go when he first came out. Best he can bowl is 195.
Resigned to the fact that this man is much too in control. Coming up, Bo's tip of the week, controlling your arm swing. Watch and listen.
When there was a pocket knife. Gene Hackman leads a team of soldiers back to Southeast Asia with Robert Stack and Patrick Swayze. Nobody can dispute the rightness.
This is not very good bowling form. My right shoulder's dropped, and it's turned out of the shot. Yet many bowlers make this mistake during their bowling game. I'll show you why most players make this mistake, and it causes an errant shot.
7th inning stretch here in Pinole Valley Lanes. Amleto Monacelli continues his onslaught. 9 strikes in his second victory, shooting a 269 to Don Genalo's 173. So a left-hander will be stepping in. It'll be Steve Cook, a native of California. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area today. A week from today, we'll be in Grand Prairie, an area of Dallas, Texas, for the Quaker State Open. That is next week, to be followed by, well, a trip to the New Orleans area, and I'm glad, to the Don Carter Classic in Kenner, Louisiana. And we had 160 started here, 30 left-handers. Bo, how did they finish 6 through 24?
Well, Chris, Mike Albee just got there. Veteran Larry Lobb just missed 7th place. Parker Bone the 3rd. John Mazza, $3,000. Deadeye, Jess Stayrook, $2,600. Big Bob Hanley, the Wizard, $2,213. Hardy Sr., $2,100. He's a little left-hander. Dave Ferraro, Mark Baker, Slowinski, $1,800. Bob Benoit, Stevens, $1,600. Another couple lefties, Shady and Wolf. Baker, Thomas, and in 24th place, rounding it out, Merrill picked up $1,220.
So there is an opportunity on the Professional Bowlers Tour to win a considerable amount of money away from being in the top spot all the time. In fact, last year there were 11 pros that won over $100,000. So with prize money over $3 million, Bo, 90 is going to be a big year.
Well, I think so, Chris. The players keep getting better and better. You see the talent of Monacelli, you see it of Voss, and when they get rolling like that, they're so well conditioned and so much better trained and have much better equipment, I think, and much more disciplined, that guys are going to start winning $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 out here in the 90s, and you're going to see some real stars.
You know, speaking of conditioning, Nelson, having done a lot of basketball in the past, basketball players are really super conditioned. And this goes for the running Rebels of University of Nevada in Las Vegas, and Dale Brown's LSU Tigers will be ready tomorrow after a win today. And our second game on our doubleheader ABC, Bobby Knight's Indiana Hoosiers go against the fast improving and exciting Minnesota Gophers. That's tomorrow right here on ABC Sports.
Yeah, Chris, and I noticed that Minnesota hasn't lost at home, so Indiana will be tested a little bit tomorrow.
They really will. They're loaded with freshmen and sophomores, just sort of feeling their way around under a great coach. And they've had a good start, but they've been stumbling a little bit. Stumbling is not the word for Brian Voss, who was able to nearly match Amleto Monacelli in the first game. Monacelli besting him 277 to 265, 19 strikes in that match. Then Monacelli came back with 9 more strikes to eliminate Don Genalo, 269 to 173. So, throw a left-hander at Monacelli and see what happens.
Well, this could be a great match. Steve Cook doesn't lay down for anybody. Monacelli has proved himself in the last couple of years on the tour, and it's who gets the breaks. And I believe a very high-scoring match. First shot.
The master today, the PBA Player of the Year in '89, showing you why. And now, with 14 titles, including the Firestone, the United States Open, the PBA National Doubles title with his brother-in-law Mike Olby twice, Steve Cook. All right, game is on.
Well, when the big guy can maintain that pace and not really attack at the release point, he's at his best. Steve Cook gets a tendency to get all charged up and put actually too much power on the bowling ball, and he overhooks it. That time it was extremely smooth. If he can keep that nice rhythm like that, he may get the same result every frame.
And you mentioned his brother-in-law Mike Olby finishing 6th, and Jess Stayrook, so the left-handers this week were in the hunt.
A number of them in the top 24, as you see our overhead shot and the angle that Steve Cook is rolling the ball.
All right.
Chris, did you see where that ball came back from? That was almost in the channel. 15 feet from the head pin, that ball was hanging on the end. Look at Steve. He says, is it going in? Is it going in? Turn over. Oh, you got to like that. Look at this ball. He can't be more than 10 or 12 feet from the head pin, and that's breaking at least 15 inches up into the 1-2 pocket.
Steve feels that his choice for tomorrow's Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos, will have that kind of good fortune.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right, I know where you stand. Monacelli with 10 pin on the right lane.
Monacelli, when he's off the tour, has opened 2 clothing stores in conjunction with his father. His father is a international clothing business, which basically makes formal wear, and Amleto decided for sportswear, and he's got a couple of stores of himself.
And he's all excited about his closed line called Amleto. So Cook with a double, Monacelli with a strike and a spare. The winner of this semifinal game, as we call it, will go against 115-pound Chris Warren, who's warming up, a non-winner from Dallas. You'll hear his pinfall in a moment as he practices.
The full grip of Monacelli, the overhead, you see how he'll be drifting to the left on the approach, as you saw Steve Cook drifting to the right. He sends it way out.
All right. And Bo, to fortify your choice of the 49ers, number 82, the wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
John Taylor is an avid bowler.
Well, I think he'll practice a few footballs tomorrow and then probably be able to go out to a bowling center where the balls are a little bit heavier.
Okay.
Here's Cook, perfect through 2 frames.
All right, Steve Cook with 3 in a row. Last year, Steve, 3 times on TV, a second and a third.
Look at the profile of Steve's Cook, that high backswing, and I'll tell you what, he saw something happen here he's looking forward to. He sent the ball real wide on second frame on lane 29 and got it back to the head pin. That time he pulled it a little bit on 30 and it set up, and a little snicker came to his face. He says, you give me that many boards to hit at the arrows and I'll throw some strikes. So he's perfect through 3.
7 pin for 265-pound Steve Cook. He, in 2 games crossing this championship pair, match play, he averaged 253.
Wow. He's going to need that at least to stay with Monacelli, as Monacelli's averaging 266 for his first 2 games. Steve Cook putting a little rosin on the ball, making sure to wipe it off, moving the finger holes. Can't leave anything on the outside of the ball.
All right, Steve Cook finished second in a field of 160. Opened with 3 in a row and is marked with a spare and now leads by 19.
Battle All-America Chris Jackson and LSU, or Indiana heads into Minnesota on ABC's College Basketball Sunday.
2 of the 4 flamboyant coaches in tomorrow's college doubleheader here on ABC. Serious Amleto Monacelli. Strike up and cut the lead to 9. Think about a late falling pin.
Now, Monacelli has it all going for him today. When he hits high, he trips the 4. Watch the 2 pin, the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of your screen. It'll do all the damage. There it goes, the sideboard, drifts in between the 4 and 7, kicks out the 4, avoids the 4-9 split, and Monacelli's right back in the match. Strike here, he can take the lead.
So it's a 1-pin lead by Monacelli. And with a spare up, his opponent, Steve Cook, will be shooting in the 5th frame.
Looks like an equal shot for both players. If they send it wide with that power ball, they can get it back to the pocket. And if they just tug it a little bit, it sets up for them. Great scoring environment.
All right, and Candy, his wife, mother of 3, liked it. We asked Steve earlier about ventures that will help him in retirement.
Well, I just opened up a bowling wholesale distributor house, and things are going pretty good. Takes a little time, but it's something that's going to bring my future down the road. And I just want to say hi to all my new wholesale accounts and hopefully be seeing some of you in the future.
Aptly named Steve Cook Pro Shops.
Knows how to do a commercial, too, doesn't he?
Needs this strike to take the lead.
All right. Rising to the occasion at 6 feet 7 inches tall. Now,
look at the angle of attack. Watch the 4th pin kick out the 7 over in the left-hand corner. That's what the big hook does for you, and that's what the lighter pins do for you. Tremendous pin action, and players are putting all the balls in the pocket.
3 in a row, 6th frame. A 2 and sleeper 8 on the right lane for Monacelli.
Ball just slipped a little bit off Monacelli's thumb, and he slides by and leaves the 2-8. Needs to hit the 2-pin square on, have the 2-pin drive straight back into the 8 to convert this. What he has to do is get the ball right there on the 2-pin and let it be driven straight back into the 8. There you go.
I liked your special presentation on the spares and splits, Bo.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing to mark, as he has all afternoon long, starting in the very first match and winning the first 2.
Monacelli, if he would happen to win this game, would be the 2nd consecutive player in this tournament to go from last to first. Last year, Ernie Schlegel averaged better than 240 while wiping out 4 opponents.
Now a 10 on the left.
The ringing 10, the first bad break Monacelli's had today. See what he does to cut down the hook. First, he goes to a lower surface friction bowling ball, or and then he'll drop his wrist back and throw it a little bit harder. Monacelli's been going at the pocket about 19 miles an hour. The 10-pin, he'll up it to about 22. Cut down the hook.
We're just beyond the halfway point of our semifinal game here in the ARC Pinole Open. More of it following this.
And home center. Yahoo! Bowling sharpshooters right off to the Lone Star State to rustle up some strikes. The quickest state open on ABC's Pro Bowlers Tour next Saturday.
Yes, all the stars will be at the Forum in Grand Prairie, Texas for the Quaker State Open a week from today, including Steve Cook, hoping to make the finals there as he has done here, finishing second, now leads by 12, a double up, shooting in the 7th frame. Well, the California cheering now gets a little heavier, gets a little more enthusiastic off to our right for the man from Roseville.
He's got him like this. Good lift, good loft, smacks all 10 pins of it, and he turns around and looks Amleto Monacelli right in the eye. A little eye psych by Steve Cook says, hey, the big boy is striking. Better look out.
Steve Cook coming in the 8th frame. He has left a 6-pin.
So important as Candy Cook looks down at the approach saying, why can't he get it off you break and trick the 6? But I'm going back to say it's so important to keep your speed up. Steve Cook that time just kind of aimed the ball into the pocket, and with his power he has to just cut it loose. Almost got the strike, but ends up with an easy spare. He'll maintain a 21-pin lead.
The 1981 Firestone winner, U.S. Open in 1986, 2 PBA doubles with Mike Albee. And Monacelli looking for his first major, but remember, he has 6 titles, including 4 last year. Spare up, 8th frame, Monacelli, trailing by 21. So another 10 for Monacelli.
If it was any other player or some of the other players, especially the rookies, I'd say maybe he's wearing out of gas. He's bowled 2 hard games, especially the first match against Voss. But for Monacelli, that's not the story. He's just not quite getting enough lift on the ball, and he's starting to lose the corner pins.
Meanwhile, the tournament leader who will meet the winner of this match is practicing. He's very busy. And 115 pounds. I hope he doesn't wear himself out, Nelson. Chris Warren.
Well, the little guy throws the big ball. It would be quite a contrast if you can see Cook bowl Chris Warren, probably the biggest and smallest players on the PBA Tour, going at it for the title. But Cook has still got to get by Monacelli in 9th frame. Trails by 22.
Three, 6, 10.
Monacelli looking down, saying, what happened to the lane? Has it changed that much in the last 10 minutes from the 2 big games he bowled early, where he averaged better than 272, as you see his ball drift high, leaving the 3, 6, 10. And what has happened, because we have a jugs gun back here, he has dropped his ball speed by 1 or 2 miles an hour on each shot he drifts high, and that's why the ball is hooking too much. I don't think he realizes that.
But continuing to be clean and marking here. His 3rd game, Steve Cook's first of the afternoon. Foundation 9th for Cook. Of course, that's what he wanted.
Well, that strike there in the 9th frame will just about salt it away for Steve Cook. You see the ball driving right through the 1, 2, 5, 9 area. Almost no deflection at all on that 16-pound spheroid, and Cook has a potential 258. Best Monacelli can do is 223. Cook will go against Warren for the title. Probably the biggest and smallest guys. Be an interesting match.
Steve Cook has eliminated Monacelli after 2 big games as ABC Sports presentation of the Professional Bowlers Tour will be back after this message and a word from our local stations.
Plus, we'll announce live the winners of the Horse Trainer and Jockey of the Year in Thoroughbred Racing's prestigious Eclipse Awards. All coming your way at 4:30 Eastern Time, and that'll be right after the bowling. Another college basketball upset this afternoon. Pittsburgh has beaten Arizona 100-92. Okay, let's go back to the bowling. Here's Chris Schenkel once again. Chris.
Thank you, California Frank. Capacity crowd here in Northern California of your home state. And Steve Cook from Roseville just eliminated Amleto Monacelli by a score of 258 to 208 after 2 big games of 277 and 269 by Amleto. How things can change so quickly. Speed of ball, lane conditions, whatever.
You're right, Chris. Monacelli going along very well, and all of a sudden he slowed down and had trouble drifting high. So
that happens to us too, as our technically our machine that gives you all those graphics that you like so much has broken down. So we don't have as many of those goodies, we call them, graphics for you, as we normally have. But that'll change next week as the 2 finalists now going for the $20,000 first prize continue to warm up. So it's time to answer an Ask Bo question.
All right, Chris, this is a pretty interesting one I saw from Fred Duza of Chicago, Illinois. And he's 73 years old, he says, and he's been watching the bowling from Chicago, and he wonders why the pins are so nice and clean and how many games they have on them. Well, basically, bowling pins, when we start a PBA tournament, we like to have about 500 games on them bowled before we come in town. That makes them optimum scoring. When the pins are, say, 500 games old to 2,000 games old, they score better. Now, for our major tournaments, we often use brand new pins, and there's much more of a premium on strikes. So, Fred, that's the answer. We try to use clean ones all the time. It works better that way. If any of you have any questions about ASBO, just write to this address.
All right, and now here at the ARC Pinole Valley Lanes, what a beautiful day in Northern California. We're ready for that final match. 20,000 to the winner, 10,500 to the runner-up. Steve Cook, who defeated Amleto Monacelli in the last game, 258 to 208, shoots first. Then you'll see a much smaller Chris Warren. Steve is left with 3, almost disbelief as he waited at the line. So he's figuring it out now as he backs down the approach.
Look at that ball. If it wasn't for the spin on it, and the centrifugal force, I guess, sucking the ball back or spin, bring it back in, it would fall off in the left ditch. Tremendous amount of hook that Cook is using. When he can control it, he's awesome. Had a great first game, 258.
All right, so Steve Cook will finish second overall, marking with a spare. People of all sizes can enjoy the sport of bowling. This is proof positive in this match. At 5'5", 115 pounds, here is the tournament leader from Dallas, Chris Warren. Four pin.
Pretty good shot to open up with. You see Chris staying way to the left and throwing that big hook. Watch how he cups that ball in his wrist. He gets his power through his feet, the legs driving through the shot. Builds a lot of momentum right here. Look at that wrist cocked at the top of the swing. Now the quick thumb out of the ball and the tremendous wrist lift at the point of release. That's where he gets his power.
A little bit to the left of center on the approach. Chris is 26 years old, and in this event, he was never worse than 12th. In match play finals, which is the top 24, he's been there 11 times, but he's made the top 5 7 times, yet looking for his first PBA win.
Well, that means when he can hit a condition, he really hits it. And it was kind of interesting to watch him shoot that last spare of the 4-pin. He flattened his wrist out so he didn't get any hook, and he threw the ball about 23 miles an hour, up the speed from 19 to 23. He sees a little something on the approach, gets down to remove it, and the 25-second rule would not be in effect when something like that happens, Chris. If a machine malfunctions or there's disturbance, he has all the time he wants.
Crossing over, he'll take it. Winner of 4 Southwest Regional titles. Chris Warren. Now Steve Cook, shooting in the second frame, spare up. And Steve gets his first of this match. He had a 9, or 10 rather, in his victory over Monacelli, 258 to 208.
Pin action makes good scoring. Steve Cook with the big hook ball goes a little bit high. The 3 goes to sideboard and trips out to 6. And anytime the players can carry the high ones and the light ones, they're going to shoot some mighty big numbers. Cook more familiar with these lanes than Chris Warren, because Steve Cook was here just 3 weeks ago to give a demonstration to a junior clinic, junior group. He's from nearby Sacramento area, about an hour's drive.
And Steve Cook won his first of 14 titles in 1979 right here at Alameda.
Yes, perfect. Chris.
Steve Cook's left thumb.
Got a patch. Actually, it's cotton and collodion, or gauze and collodion, to keep it from splitting open. Many of the players who do have hand trouble go ahead and use that. Good way to protect your hand. Now Warren to even the match, 3rd frame.
Chris Warren can't believe it. It's a 9-pin on the right lane.
Some of the reciprocity of bowling. Chris Warren crosses over in the 2nd frame, gets a lucky strike, and he throws what is a near perfect ball here, trying to make a double and even the match, and leaves a solid 9. Every once in a while, you pay the penalty for the big power. Tough break.
Okay, earlier we asked Chris how he generates all that power on the bowling lanes.
Well, basically, it's derived from momentum and a lot of leg speed. I have real quick feet. I release the ball real quick. I have to make sure I keep my shoulders low and extend through the ball, so it derives a lot of power from basically my legs.
Chris Warren, who started as a junior bowler, bowled 47 his first game with 1 strike. Improved quite a bit since then.
It's a 10 plaguing Chris Warren.
Solid 9, solid 10. Not much you can do about it, Chris, except just keep going to the pocket.
Does he wear his emotions on his face? Wow.
See how he attacks the 10-pin left side, increase the ball speed, cut down the hook.
This is our championship match. 20 to the winner, 10,005 to the runner-up. We'll have more of it from Pinole, California after this. Keeping you up to date on finals in college basketball. DePaul upsetting 4th-ranked Louisville 66-62. That's a final.
That time of year.
Now Steve Cook.
Cook, 4th frame, leads by 11, has 2 strikes up, can extend to 21 over tournament leader Chris Warren. Watch how far he gets the ball out over the line to delay the hook.
And it's It's a 7-pin for the left-hander. Bring you up to date. Monacelli won the first game over Brian Voss, 277, 265.
And you see the loft. Steve Cook rolls that ball about 5 feet past the foul line. He leaves a solid 7 there. And the reason he lifts it past the foul line like that is to delay the hook. The more you loft it out, not bounce it, the more you loft it out, the later the ball will hook towards the pocket.
And Monacelli over Genalo's second game, 269, 173. And the man who just marked with a spare, Steve Cook, eliminated Monacelli 258 to 208. Now his opponent, Chris Warren. Candy and 2 of the 3 children, Stacy and Jill, with their mom.
They have one little one that is probably back in the nursery, rooting for Daddy. Steve Cook, 5th frame, leads by 10.
A 7-pin on the left lane now.
You know, those bowling pins know when you're squeezing that ball a little bit. In the earlier matches, when everybody was free rolling, Chris, those pins were willing to fall down. But now that it's tightened up a little bit, we've seen Warren with 2 solid hits, a 9-pin and a 10-pin, and then Steve Cook comes right back with solid 7, solid 7. Look at this shot. There's not much you can do about it. Just keep going to the well. You'll eventually get water. The overhead, he'll cut down his hook and roll this ball about 24 miles an hour at the 7-pin.
Nine pins now separating the 2 finalists in our 3rd telecast in a tour of 16 cities on the Winter Tour. Spring Tour, 8 more. Total of 24. ABC's commitment to bowling, yes, even stronger. Then there was a 4 for Chris Warren.
Well, he's a little bit disturbed. He lacks a little experience in a championship game, but he throws the ball pretty good here on this shot as he rolls the ball smoothly at the foul line, sends it out wide, then doesn't get the break on the 4-pin. 2 goes right behind, knocks out the 7. Chris Warren was leading the tournament coming into Friday and bowled a 122 Friday morning, his very first game. So a lot of people can understand a low game like that, but he came back strong.
And he continues to mark here. Young man that has picked Denver in the Super Bowl tomorrow, like Steve Cook. And a young man that looks like a smaller and younger version of artist Leroy Neiman. Just take a look.
All right, let's see the position that Chris Warren takes on the approach. To accommodate that gigantic hook, he has to get way to the left, almost like he's shooting a 10-pin. The overhead camera reveals that he's almost standing on lane 28 to his left. He'll send it out over the 3rd arrow with the big hook.
And it came up high.
Trouble. Whew. The 2,
isn't that awful?
4, 6, 7. Kind of an unusual split. What he has to do is get that ball over here where the 3-pin is and drive the 3-pin over into the 4. The 4 hopefully will knock out the 7-pin.
Big odds.
I'd say about 5 to 1, Chris.
Okay. So it's disastrous open frame. In the 6th for the tournament leader, Chris Warren. Out in the lead by 27 is Steve Cook, who is up and uses the full approach. I mean, all of it.
Head-on shot. Steve Cook, he'll attack. He knows he has his opponent down. He's not going to leave anything in the bag.
Well, here we go with a 4, 6, 7, 8, 10.
Well, we're getting some real splits here all at once. And what Steve Cook needs to do to make this is to get the ball over in the 6-pin area and slide the 6 over into the 3. It's easier to make it that way because the 6 will twist between the 4, 7, and 8. Let's see what he decides to go with. Try to drive the 3 over into the other side.
Stacy and Jill, their daughters, Stacy on the right. Look at him.
He'll throw it hard, try to bounce it out.
Now, that's power.
Well, Cook was going for the pin count. The percentage when you get a 5-pin split such as that is to go for the 2 and slide the odd pin over into the 3. And Cook, obviously with a lead, decided to keep his 10-pin lead through 6 frames.
10 pins separating the 2 now. Cook leading. 7th frame. So it's a 7 again for Steve.
Steve Cook fighting his speed control. He's such a big man. He gets so much leverage. At this ball, he throws a little bit too hard. Ball slides too far down the lane. He almost leaves a 7-10 split. Gets away, leaves just the 7-pin. Needs to need this spare to maintain the lead.
So now's the opportunity as we move to the 7th frame for Chris Warren, who has 1 strike thus far in this match. Pretty convincing.
Good shot there. And you really look at Chris Warren's game. He had the ball in the pocket in the 1st frame, left the 4, struck in the 2nd, and he left a solid 9, solid 10, solid 4 in the next 3 frames before making that mistake in the 6th. He can recover that with a strike here in the 8th. The match would be all tied.
Wanted that 10 as well.
Just not to be. This game, Chris Warren is throwing 7 out of 8 balls right in the pocket, and yet he only has 1 strike, 2 strikes to show for it. Now he knows he's throwing this well. He keeps his head down. He looks up at the ball. He says, come on, the match will be even. Hook.
Rush Lane did get the 10. So Steve Cook is moving up to the approach now with the spare working, shooting in the 8th frame. A real battle for the title. So Steve is left to 2-4.
The pressure of a title game, both players a little bit wild, trying to do too much to the ball instead of letting it just happen. Cook's been somewhat all over the head pin this game, and he still leads by 10. A little concerned face on his wife, Candy.
Winner of 14 titles, including the Firestone and U.S. Open. Warren is yet to win. And for Warren, a victory here would make him eligible for the Firestone Tournament of Champions, so there's more than the title here in the 20,000. It's moving up in class.
That's for sure. The 3rd jewel of the Triple Crown. Pete McCordick is 52nd on the list right now, and he would be bumped out if Chris Warren could win. But right now we come to the pivotal 9th frame. Cook has an 8-pin lead.
And experience. Powerful. So now it's in Chris Warren's hands. shot. The young fellow from Dallas, Texas, when he's not bowling, loves to build model cars of those cars he'd like to own. So I asked him, what would you like to own? He said, well, starting with a Shelby Cobra, then a Ferrari. High goals.
Better win some time.